Hello everybody. It's like I say, it's great to know that you're there, but a very weird experience because I can't see you. So I'm trying to imagine all of your faces sat there smiling back at me, full of excitement and lots of questions that you're going to ask me. So for about the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you some information about the access to higher education diplomas that we offer in ACL. There's a little slideshow that accompanies it. I think there's a little time lag, so do bear with. The information will come up, and as Richard says, he's going to be sharing these slides with you after the event. So if you haven't had an opportunity to jot down some notes, then don't panic, you can come back to them later. So why is the access to HE so great? Well, there's lots of reasons why it's a really good course for you to enrol upon. It is a certificate or a qualification that's primarily designed for people who did not achieve A levels at the traditional age, for whatever reason that might be. It's a qualification that's equivalent to 3 A levels, and it accrues UCAS points in the same way that A levels do. There are some entry requirements to get onto an access to HE diploma, and they're often at GCSE level qualifications, primarily in English and maths, and sometimes we require science. What we tend to do is have a look at where it is you want to be in the future, which university do you want to go to, and particularly which degree you're interested in. Because it is that degree, it is their entry requirements which will determine whether we need you to have GCSE English and Maths, or whether we can accept you with what we call level 2 functional skills. So we can talk about those a little bit later if you've got some questions, but we can come back to that. So this course is also only for those people who are over the age of 19. So if you're 18, then I'm afraid you're going to have to wait for another birthday yet. But actually the majority of people that are on our course come from a real mix of ages. We can have 19-year-olds all the way through to, I think the oldest person I've had was in their late 60s. So we get a real mix of age groups on the course. So you're never too old, and you're not too young, well, unless you're 18, of course, to get back into education. And of course, getting back into education when you've been out of it for a little while can be really daunting. But most of you are probably typically at the same level in education. So what we provide is a really safe place to learn in. And it's likely to be a very different experience from the one that you had when perhaps you were at secondary school or sixth form. Richard has already mentioned about the advanced learner loan. Some people are often put off by the cost of an access to HE and wonder how they can finance that. So as Richard has already said, if you're between the age of 19 and 23 and this is your first time at trying to get a level 3 qualification, or alternatively you don't have a full level 3, it's highly likely that this course is going to be free for you. If you're not in that fortunate category, then you can apply for an advanced learner loan, which works very much in the same way that tuition fee loans for university do. You apply through Student Finance England, and they provide you with a loan which comes direct to us to pay for your course. Of course, that loan may need to be paid back in the future, but actually, as Richard has already said, it is actually written off if you go on to complete your qualification at university. So if you get onto your chosen degree, you achieve your degree, they actually just write off the loan for your access to HE. And of course, that's brilliant news because that's an added reward for all your hard work during and the diploma and beyond the diploma. Okay, and it works. It really does work. I've been teaching on the Access programme for over 10 years now, and I have to say I'm very proud of our track record. Every single learner that we have come to do our Access to HE goes on to achieve the diploma or certificates within the diploma, and has an opportunity to go on to university. And so our Access learners are always really proud of what they've been able to achieve. And the stories that we get back about the point at which they started and the point at which they've moved on to is really good proof of how the diplomas work in helping people to reach their goals. So have I piqued a little bit of interest in this. I hope so. I think you can probably hear my passion about the access to HE, the difference that it makes to people's employment for the future, their careers, and more importantly for me, the self-confidence that they have in their ability to learn and to fall in love with learning again. So when will you learn and where will you learn? And that's a big question at the moment. The situation that we're in at the moment is quite unsettling, isn't it? So ordinarily, of course, our classes would be in a classroom, smaller classrooms than you were used to at school, with smaller numbers. So we have very small class sizes. But at the moment, we've got a bit of a situation, haven't we? And our centres aren't open for our access to HE learners, which means we've been working really hard over the summer to adapt all of our teaching and learning onto online delivery. Our online delivery will be using a variety of platforms, but primarily that's going to be something called Teams for Education. You might have heard of Teams before. It's a Microsoft Office platform that we're going to be using. We give you free access to that. Also, at the point at which you enrol, you'll be given free access to the Office 365 package. So that gives you your Word, your Excel, your PowerPoint. And we also have a Moodle environment called a virtual learning environment, which we can also use, which we at the moment are using as like a library of resources. So these online resources are available for you to download and save anytime that you wish. And of course, we will also have videos on there. And because we're going to be delivering in this situation, as you see here tonight, we're going to be able to record those sessions. So that online delivery means we can record the live sessions, so you can play back and listen again at any other time, which is a really wonderful feature that if we were in the classroom, we wouldn't have. You'd have to rely on your notes. So this actually is an improvement in some respects. On the course, we also have really dedicated tutors. They're going to be offering you one-to-one support. So we have pastoral sessions, and we have personal tutorial sessions, and they can talk about your progress and give you feedback on that. They can help you overcome some stumbling blocks you might be having, perhaps with study skills, or if you're struggling to know how to revise. So those sessions can help you pinpoint what you need to achieve in order to get the best out of the course, really. Moving forward, we anticipate, assuming there's no second wave, of course, that we might be able to move back into our classrooms. I think it's important that if you do start online, that you're probably going to be changing your lives to fit with that online delivery. And it may or may not be convenient for you to go into face-to-face classrooms. So I make this commitment to you now that if we are delivering online from September, which we are, we will continue that online delivery to the end of the course. When I come to talk about the science diploma, you'll notice that I'm going to be talking about some of the practical science laboratory sessions, and of course that's far more difficult to do online. I wouldn't be expecting you to be testing things in your kitchen. The possibility of you blowing up some chemistry in your kitchen quite worries me. So we will be looking to move us into either one of our classrooms for that, or we'll be taking you to Essex University to their laboratories, but more about that in a moment. If I'm going at 100 miles an hour, make sure you drop Richard a little chat message to say that she needs to slow down.
Sorry, Emma, can I just interrupt, because we've got a question that's come in, just to give a bit of pause on this presentation. Carla has asked, she's asked two questions. What books do I need to buy? And I think this is comes into the bursary. So did you want to answer this one, Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. So we make some recommendations about textbooks. They can generally actually be A-level textbooks, particularly for psychology and sociology. There are some more slightly specialist textbooks for biology. So what we'll do is at the beginning of the course, we'll give you an idea of the books you might want to buy. I have to say, not all students buy the textbooks because they are actually really do feel that they're getting sufficient information from the teaching and learning in the classrooms, from the handouts, from the video clips, from the interactive nature of the course. So textbooks aren't a must, but I'm a big reader and I really love it when learners start engaging in a textbook, and I think it will add greater depth to your understanding of a particular subject, and that reflects more the nature of what university is all about. So in terms of costs for those books, many of the books that we recommend have been in existence for some time now, and prior learners have bought them and they've donated them to the college, so we can share those with you. Although we probably wouldn't have enough if there were 50 of you. But we also have a bursary, and the bursary would enable you, I think it's means tested, Richard, isn't it? And it would enable you to apply to have those books bought for you. So I wouldn't worry too much about textbooks. I'm not expecting you to have a massive library. God, that was a long answer, wasn't it?
Thanks, Emma. There is one more question. It's also, can I get any help as I have problems reading and spelling?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good question. We have support in place. What we need to do is, once we've got you enrolled onto the course, is understand what your needs are and understand what works best for you, and then we would put that support in place. We have learning support assistants that can be on the online classrooms at the same time, and they can be your buddy. We can also ensure that outside of the classroom, those LSAs, those learning assistants, learning support assistants, are with you to support you. So that is available, yes.
Brilliant, thanks, Emma. That was the only question so far in this webinar, but we can go to the other questions at the end if you want to carry on.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Well, I'm exhausted already. Right, let me tell you a little bit about each of the diplomas. So if you're interested in science, I'm sorry, this is maybe your time to go and get a glass of water. But if you're interested in the social science diploma, let me tell you about this one first. So as you can see on the screen, the diploma focus for this one has three main ologies: the criminology, which is the study of crime, the impact that that has on victims, why people commit crime, what the impact is for society, and perhaps how we might control crime. Sociology is the next one, and this is the study of society, and we look at the big institutions that we call the macro theories. So we look at theory, but we also kind of look at what the experience is for the individual, for you and I. It might include a little bit of politics. No, but that's good because there's lots of debate there. It has us look at inequalities in our society. So yeah, that's fabulous. And the next one is psychology, and this is my favourite because this is my background. So the psychology is the study of human beings, and interestingly animal behaviour as well, although we don't cover a lot of animal behaviour on this course. For psychology, we're interested in the study of mind and behaviour. I'm not reading your minds right now, believe me. And we look at things like child development, something called cognitive psychology, which is how memory works, language and the importance of language. There's all sorts of really exciting stuff. So the diploma has these kind of three individual disciplines within it, and there is a bit of equality in as much as each of the three are dealt with at a foundation level very equally. And so you do some foundation learning for psychology, sociology and criminology. And then as you get further into the course, once you've got that foundation of learning, we start to send you off into kind of more specialist or niche areas of psychology and sociology and criminology. And these, when we send you off into doing these smaller parts of learning, if you like, we refer to these as units. And so each unit has a different title and different topics that you will learn within it. And at the end of each unit, you get to do an assessment. So these assessments can be things like essays and presentations, reports. They can be posters, leaflets. There's a whole range of assessment methods we use. Some of you might be panicking right now because you've never written an essay, but don't panic. We help you with all of that. But the beauty of this course is that you are being assessed at every point in the progression of the course. It is not end of year panic exams. So it is being assessed at every unit, at the end of every unit, and you're getting feedback on that assessment at the end of every unit, and you are being given grade indicators at the end of that unit. So you know whether you're operating or working at a pass, a merit or a distinction at every single point along the programme of delivery. So what you end up with at the end of the academic year is, well, it used to be in the old-fashioned world that I used to work in, a massive, great big fat folder of evidence. But of course, now we've moved to online. It will be an online portfolio of evidence that just shows how much you understand about psychology, sociology, and criminology. So as I said, we'll be looking at things like what is the impact of crime on our society, how children's thinking might develop over time, and having a really good in-depth look at the issues that affect a lot of groups in our society. Within the diploma, there are also units that help to reinforce your study and your personal skills. And these units are primarily designed to give you a really good grounding for your academic study at university. It may be that actually you've never had a textbook before, that you don't know how to look up information in a textbook. You may have heard of academic referencing before, but not quite sure what it is. It might be that you understand what an essay might be, but how do you paragraph, how do you draw conclusions, and how do you kind of evidence evaluative writing. So we support you and teach you in all of those skills. So why would you do the social science? Well, most of our learners go on to study things like social work, law, psychology, obviously, and sociology. Some of our learners go into early years teaching, into primary education. We've had students go off to study history and forensic psychology. You can also go into nursing from this diploma. Adult nursing and mental health nursing, but not child nursing. So do bear that in mind if you're looking at paediatric nursing, then this is not the diploma for you. But nursing and mental health nursing is cool for this one. So let's move on to the science diploma. Have we got any questions about that diploma before I move on, Richard, or are we quiet on the Western Front?
We are quiet at the moment, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free to post them and we'll pick up on them at the end of the presentation.
It's a very strange experience not having that feedback. Anyway, let's move on to our science diploma. So the science diploma is made up of 3 disciplines as well, in equal measure. There is mostly a third of each of the biology, the chemistry and the physics. It's a real balance of science units that gives you a fundamental understanding of each of those disciplines. And very much, well, it's virtually the same as the social science in its makeup. There are foundation units that you will do, then you will move on to more subject specialist units within biology, chemistry and physics. And in exactly the same way as the social science, you will have assignments to do within each unit. And the extra bit of excitement for you guys is that you get to do hands-on science practicals. The hands-on science practicals have historically, for the last 3 or 4 years, taken place at Essex University, and I cannot tell you what a buzz that is. It's a really fantastic opportunity to get a feel for what your lab experience is going to be like at university. In ACL, and this is not being rude to ACL, but we could not replicate that kind of lab experience for you. So to be in the university is absolutely wonderful. I don't see any problem with us being there this year. They're very positive about us going, and we've just got to figure out how we work around COVID for that. So you would be able to develop your practical science skills, and that also increases your problem solving skills as well. And that's something that universities really like to see you talk about on your UCAS application. So this course is going to be suitable if you want to become a nurse, child nursing, adult nursing, mental health nursing. Midwifery is absolutely, this is the one you need to do if you're interested in catching babies. If you want to become a paramedic, then this is the diploma for you as well. Or perhaps you want to study a more general science-based degree at university, such as bioscience. If I think about where our learners have gone off this year too, they've gone off to do quite a variety of different things from a science diploma. We've had someone go to forensic science this year, and someone go to bio-veterinarian science. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And interesting, you wouldn't believe this, but someone's gone off to do building surveying from a science degree. Absolutely, why not? And also genetics. So, you know, the science diploma is a really fantastic springboard into any science-based degree courses that you want to do at university. I think it was at this point I was going to mention a little bit about how those units were graded. I think I alluded to it earlier, didn't I, where I said pass, merit or distinction. And I think if you go on and have a look at your chosen university and degree, you'll see in their entry requirements, they'll list the diploma that they're interested in you having. If it says they want you to have a science access diploma, then make sure you're enrolled onto a science diploma. If it doesn't specify that it needs to be a science, then it's highly likely you can do the social science diploma. But what you'll also notice is that they talk about credits. They talk about 45 credits or 21 credits. So they're talking about numbers of credits that they want you to achieve. And each unit has a credit value. The total number of credits on a diploma is 60. And 45 of those are graded at pass, merit or distinction. So that gives you a little bit of information about how units are graded, and then you can now have a look at your university choices and see kind of how many merits or distinctions you might have to achieve in order to meet their entry requirements. Any questions about science? Oh, you're all so quiet out there. Okay, so which diploma is the... Oh,
sorry, we have one question that's just come through.
Excellent.
Do you need a maths and English qualification to do an access course?
Yeah, so I briefly mentioned this, didn't I, right at the beginning. You don't, funnily enough, you don't actually need the qualifications to join our course, but that is our requirement. We were, to absolutely ensure success, we need you to have already achieved a level 2 qualification in English and maths. It's a weird situation because we have to think about the next step that you're about to take. So after you've been with us for a year, you're going to want to be going to university. If your university entry requirement is that you have to have GCSE English and maths, it would be really wrong of me to let you come on this course making sure that you hadn't got that in the first place. So when you come to do an assessment session with us, which I'll talk about a little bit later in this webinar, that's one of the things we talk to you about is what qualifications have you got already? Do we need to make sure that you get them first? And then how can we support you doing that? So yeah, good question. Did I answer it though? All right, so I'll move on to the next slide. So which is the diploma that is right for me? So I've already kind of mentioned a little bit about if you're, wanting to go to be a midwife, then you absolutely need to be on the science diploma. So I would take a little step back and I would start thinking about, do you have a particular career in mind? If you have a career in mind, for example, like nursing, the science-based diploma is going to be appropriate. If you have the career of social worker in mind, then the social science diploma would be appropriate. But maybe some of you are not quite sure really what your career is going to be yet. You don't know what kind of employment you want to be in the future, and that's fine. You don't need to fret about that. What we need to consider is, more importantly, is the subjects that you're interested in. What are you passionate about? What are you curious about? And kind of where do your talents lie? we really need to only be careful about the science-based degrees. And again, the pre-course assessment session that you'd have with a tutor, an expert tutor, would be able to talk through warning you that if you're interested in a science degree at university, that you probably need to go down the science route. Another helpful mechanism that you could use is go to the UCAS website, and you can see on the slide that I've given you the link for that, and I know Richard's going to share all of those with you after the event, so don't panic too much if you haven't written that down. But what you can do is use the UCAS course search facility to search for keywords, and those keywords are going to be the things that you're passionate about, the subjects that you're interested in. And that's going to produce a whole range of possible degree courses, probably too many for you to even contemplate, but it's worth having a look because you would be surprised at the different degree courses that are out there. So I really do recommend you do some personal research on that. So I would suggest that you drill down onto a particular course of interest, then check out what the university may want in terms of those existing qualifications. So if you're kind of looking around on their website to see what you're looking for are entry requirements. It's probably a good idea to have a look at the entry requirements for 21-22 because that you would be the cohort for 21-22. Check out what the university wants in terms of those existing qualifications, and like I said, some will want you to have GCSE English and Maths. Others may accept alternatives like the functional skills in English and Maths. So that is something to check, and that is a conversation we would definitely have with you when we have you on a pre-course assessment. So ultimately, my advice is to choose subjects that are really fascinating to you. You're going to be studying your chosen subject for some time. If you're not passionate about it, if you don't fall in love with it, it is going to be like treading through mud. So if you have a little look at those subjects, try and select something that you're just going to really enjoy. And then in terms of the diploma, coming back to that, have a look at the different topics that we have in the diploma. I have mentioned a few, but there are more, and you can find this information on their Gateway Qualifications website, which I've also given. I keep looking that way, and that's because I've got a second screen, just in case you're wondering. But you can have a look at the Gateway Qualifications website, and when you click on that, it will show you the different diplomas that are on offer. Currently, we offer the science and the social science, and then you can have a look at the units. Any questions? Okay.
No additional questions, but you did receive a response from the question you just answered. So the response was yes, thank you. You answered it very well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Lovely to have some feedback. Brilliant. So we're on track. Okay, so I think there are some other things you need to consider as well. It might be that you're already putting a load of barriers in the way. Oh, I can't do it. It's not the right time. You know, I've got kids, I've got responsibilities, I've got to work. I'm going to put this off for another few years. Okay, and though all of those are real. They're not imagined, they are real things, and they are no different for any of our learners that we've had in the past. So if you're already thinking about those barriers, I want you to try and find a solution. I want you to analyse your own situation, recognise those potential barriers, because that's a really excellent place to start, because there's nearly always a solution to a potential barrier. So, for example, I put a few things here on the slide. I think I'm looking this way again. So, you know, have you got the time to make the commitment to the course? It is quite a long course, and it is for 3 days a week. Our courses generally run from 9:30 till 2:30 each day. We've changed it a little bit this year, whereas we would be absolutely expecting you to be attending for 2 days out of the 3. And the third day we're kind of trying to make into a drop-in facilitated day. At the beginning of the course, there will be a requirement for you to be there on that third day, but as you move through the programme, what you'll find is you can use that as a drop-in as and when you need, but you need to commit to 2 full days for an access diploma. So how are you going to make the time to be able to do that? One of the things that we do in the study skills session just before you start the course is to actually look at how you divide your time up during the week. I, prior to lockdown, had a penchant for playing on Farm Heroes, and I actually did a little test to see how much time I spent on Farm Heroes, which is a gaming app on the phone, and I found that I was in excess of 2 hours a day. That is really bad. So there are probably little bits of your day or time that you can have a look at, rejig things. If you're doing commutes, you may be able to use that commute for reading time, etc. It may be that you're working full time. Are you able to flex your hours? If you're working part time, can you change your hours to suit and accommodate the course? So have a little look at how you can adjust things in your life to slot this in as well. The time goes really fast. It's only 30 weeks. That sounds like an eternity, but it's really not. It's a very short snap in your life. So hopefully you can find a way of kind of getting it to snugly fit in nicely. So as well as being with us for 2 days a week from 9:30 till 2:30, you're going to need some time away to do learning, to consolidate your learning, to do some extra reading. You're going to need some time to prepare and write your assignments. You're going to need a space to be able to prepare and write those assignments as well. So these are going to be things like essays and reports and sometimes presentations. I know you're pretty scary, but one day you're going to be doing this, and it won't just be me that's doing it, it'll be you that's doing it. So we're going to provide you with lots of support with regards to study skills. So as I said, don't worry if you haven't written an essay before. So, oops, wrong thing. So one of the things to tell you about is really a bit going on from the question if you haven't got those GCSEs or level 2 qualifications at the moment. So we can give you some advice about how ACL can support you doing those. So we can signpost you to functional skills assessments that are going on at the moment, and also GCSE assessments as well. I would not recommend, and I wouldn't really allow you to do GCSEs at the same time as the access. It's just too much. It really is too much. If you want to be successful in a kind of competitive market, if you like, for getting onto degrees, I would get those GCSEs sorted out first. But we can have a talk with you about the best way to do that. The other thing that we offer is something called a pre-access course. That's its kind of slang name, if you like. It's got a really long title that you're not interested in, but it's a level 2 certificate. And this takes about 20 weeks. And you can do that at the same time as your GCSEs or functional skills. You can start it this coming September. It will be online, and you can start it in February. So if you're not quite sure at the moment, you don't need to panic. You can come back to that in February and do that. So what is the pre-access course? Well, there's a clue in the title. It's about getting you ready for access. So it gives you level 2, which is kind of GCSE equivalent information of psychology and sociology or sciences. So it gets you warmed up for those disciplines, those subjects. It also enables you to get warmed up on your study skills. So you really hit the ground running next September for the access course. Really supportive, and I recommend that. And again, depending on your circumstances, that could be a free course. So don't dismiss that too easily out of hand. So if you're feeling like, oh, I've got to do these GCSEs and I really didn't want to not do the access, then do think about our pre-access course. There are lots of other supportive resources. Richard has already referred to those. They include childcare that's on some of our sites, preschools, the learner support, which ties in with the question you asked earlier, those personal tutorials, and importantly, our new help hub on our website. Okay. So now you know a little bit more about the diploma than you did at 5:30. At least I'm hoping so. So what I would like you to do, if you're interested, is book onto one of our pre-course assessment sessions. We can either take your interest now and get back to you early next week and book you one-to-one, or you can phone our centre or you can book yourself onto one directly by going online and searching for our access courses, and then click on the button that says how to enroll, and you get a little selection of all of the course date, all of the assessment dates, and you can choose one that's convenient to you. So what will happen at that assessment session? Well, what we do is we phone you, we arrange to make a phone call with you. We send you via email a link to an English and Maths assessment, which is all online. Don't be scared. It doesn't stop you from joining the course. It just means we get a measure of where you're at right now with your English and Maths, and we can, we use that to inform our planning for how we support your learning. We can have a chat with you about your plans. We can have a look to help you check with your university and the degree that you're interested in, to see that you meet the minimum entry requirements for that, because sometimes that can be quite tricky if you're not experienced in doing that. And then after all of that, you and the tutor will decide on what the next step is, whether you go on to enrol onto a pre-access or whether you enrol onto the access diploma. Yeah, cool and dead easy. I have a team of tutors who are just so lovely, and I don't think you'll feel intimidated by the whole process at all. I think you'll really benefit from it. So where can you find out more information? I'm looking over here again because this is what my screen is. So there's the telephone number, the email, and there's a really handy website here for you called Careers Coach. If you've no idea what it is that you want to be when you grow up, that's the thing to go and have a look at. It's really helpful. And there's the UCAS website as well. Ta-da! That's me finished. Thank you very much for listening. I hope to have lots of questions from you.
Brilliant, thank you, Emma. We do have a question that's just come through, and it says, I'm frightened talking to people and suffer from anxiety. Do I have to do presentations?
Oh, no, not really, but we've had people like yourself before who feel anxious about that. It can be really intimidating, can't it? So what we've done in the past is we've had the presentations where you would just talk to the tutor. I've had people where they've had their backs turned to me while they read out a piece of their work. So you probably will have to do a presentation at some point, but we can really help support you do that. So I wouldn't be too concerned at this point, but it's a real fear and I get that. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Emma. We have another question come through. Let me just get it up. I've been accepted and got my loan. What do I do now? Will someone be in touch before the start date?
Okay, so you've already gone through the approval process by the sounds of it. So you've already gone through the assessment and you've got your advanced learning loan approved by the sounds of it. So what should happen now is actually when you got the letter of approval from the student finance, you need to contact our frontline staff and they need to see a copy of that letter. So we need to find a way in which you can either email it to them. So I think that's a phone call. I think that would be a phone call or an email to Lifelong Learning where you forward the letter, the approval letter. In response to that, our classes aren't for another couple of weeks yet, but don't worry, we're going to send you joining instructions about our study skills day and joining instructions for the course, and they'll come through in the next week or so, hopefully. Actually, I'm going to say that again. They'll be through at the beginning of September, not in the next week.
Thanks, Emma. What we'll do as well, we'll chase that up for you to let you know where those details are. So yeah, we're here to support you right now and to get you all the information you need.
Absolutely.
Is there any more questions? We did have a couple of questions that came through via email. So one of the questions was, do you provide support for applications to university during the course?
Yes, we do. As part of the diploma, there is actually a unit called Preparation for Higher Education, and that includes you writing your UCAS application, you completing your UCAS application. We support you with the writing of your personal statement. We can help you polish that. We also provide you with your academic reference if that's what you would like, and we're able to support you filling in all of the sections, and we make sure that you have submitted it to UCAS by the 15th of January next year, so you don't miss their deadline.
Brilliant, thanks, Emma. And there's one more here. It's if I've applied for an advanced learning loan before, will I be accepted?
Okay, so you're allowed to have up to 4 advanced learner loans. So if you applied for one before for a level 3 or above course, it doesn't stop you from having another one for an access to HE diploma. There is just one little caveat to that, and if you've had if you've done an access to HE diploma before and you weren't successful and you used the loan, you wouldn't be able to get the loan again. So that's just something to bear in mind. But if you've never done an access course before and you meet the eligibility criteria for the loan, which you can look at by going to the gov.uk website and just Google the advanced learning loan. It's very simple eligibility criteria, and you'll be able to see that it should be fine, no problems.
Brilliant. I think that's all the questions. I think we've been on here for 50 minutes now, so we've answered well 9 questions, which is really good going. Thank you, Emma, for the brilliant presentation. It definitely helped me learn a bit more about access to higher education as well.
Yeah. I'm just so impressed that people attended and you didn't all go to the pub on a sunny Friday afternoon.
Brilliant. And we've got some feedback as well, said thank you, it helps a lot. So it's obviously quite beneficial hearing that from you, Emma. It's brilliant. So we hope everyone's found this session useful. I'll send over information and slides from the webinar, and if you have any questions that you think of over the weekend, just fire us an email, reply to the email, and we'll get back to you with the answers you need. So I hope everyone has a lovely weekend, and thank you for joining us.
Good luck in your studies, everybody. Lovely to see you. Well, not see you. Bye.
Bye.